just stand round, recording policemen, hold a man down till his breath ran out. My eyes can't take another black man down, while other blacks stand round, yelling, officer, stand down, instead of putting hands down. Y'all come on now. When the time gon' come for you to put fist up and give a black man pound, shoulder to shoulder, stand round and say, I dare y'all now.
If one fall, we all fall. If one call, we all call. You watching him take his last breath, but silence is death. That's on y'all.
All right. Today is January 3rd. We are going to get started and we are going to talk about this thing that's happening over in Venezuela, or what's happened in Venezuela. So come on if you're coming, and let's get into this this news. I know I'm a little late. This broke early in the morning, but you know, I got kids and this is when I had the time to talk to you guys. So we have this situation over in Venezuela that's been escalating for quite a bit of time. And what the initial pretense was, oh, they're doing drug trafficking. They have these cartels. We need to stop all of the drugs that are coming into the U.S. And for a long time, everybody in the news was pretending that that was accurate, that Trump was making some sort of legitimate argument. And obviously he wasn't, right? We know that most of the drugs, it's reported that most of the drugs are coming from China. They're coming from Mexico. We have some stuff coming up from Canada, but not specifically Venezuela. Venezuela does have a very small drug operation, but the boats that they were blowing up over in the Caribbean, they said that those boats were carrying drugs, blew up like 80 people, and they were little speedboats. Some people said that they were fishing boats. I guess we'll never know because those people were blown up and they never got a trial. Well, fast forward to 2026, and if you did not bring in your new year with fireworks, Trump certainly had your back, because what he did on January 3rd was send some troops over to Venezuela, and he just started blowing their shit up. They had some fireworks early in the morning, about 4:21 Eastern time. So that's when Trump went on Truth Social and he said, hey, we've captured Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela. Why we were there? Obviously, it was because of drugs, except for the fact that Trump immediately started saying, oh, well, we're going to take their oil. We are in the oil business. If you don't believe me, I'm going to show you. He did a press conference about 11 o'clock from Mar-a-Lago over in Florida. And I do have a couple of clips. I don't have the entire press conference, but I'm going to show you what our president, the peace president, had to say about the operations that we carried out in terms of Venezuela and then snatching their leader and kidnapping him in order to put him on trial up in New York. Check this out.
Of China and Russia, well, Russia when we get things straightened out, but in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to go to it. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
That is the president telling you verbatim, plain and simple, we're going to take the oil that Venezuela was supposed to be producing. He's saying they weren't producing enough. They weren't doing it efficiently enough. We're just going to take it and then we'll sell it to Russia. We'll sell it to China. If they want to do business, we are in the oil business now. I read something a little bit ago. It said Venezuela has the largest oil reserve. They have about 17% of all the oil across the face of the earth, right? Obviously, they have a weakened economy. They have weakened infrastructure. They're not able to produce at the rate that Trump wants. And he's like, yo, you can't do it, but I can do it better than you. And in order to do that, he took Nicolas Maduro out. He didn't want him there. He wanted somebody who was more friendly, that was more inclined to do what it is that President Trump wanted, even though Maduro did ask to make a peace deal on New Year's Day. Trump still invaded him anyway. But the point is, Trump decided, hey, we're just going to take the oil. We're going to invade the country, remove the president, try to do a deal with the vice president, and then we're just going to take the oil and we'll sell it on our behalf. This is what the U.S. is engaged in 2026. And I've got to say, I don't know how the rest of the world is going to respond, but it's not a good look. And obviously, Trump has had a ton of backlash from the UN, from Iran, from Colombia, from Cuba. There's a bunch of countries that are saying that they are not rocking with this. But who is one of the few countries that is on the U.S. side is Argentina. Argentina, I believe their president is Javier Milei. And obviously, he's on our side. We gave the motherfucker $40 billion a couple of months ago, maybe 2 months ago. So, we've bought and paid for his support, his loyalty to the U.S. So that's where we are standing with him. Let's check out this other thing that's from the press conference. It says, at the bombing of Venezuela and abducting President Nicolas Maduro, Donald Trump said the U.S. government is going to run the country until there is a transition to pro-U.S. leadership. Let's check this out straight from our president's mouth. Remember, this is the peace president. Trump ran on no new wars. He ran on not invading foreign countries. But, yesterday's price is not today's price, as one DJ Khaled said.
A place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So,
a transition, which is not necessarily our prerogative to choose who is going to lead a foreign country. But, the U.S. has a history of doing this stuff. And Trump's like, why stop now? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
We don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. We've had decades of...
Yes, because Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, all of these folks really, really have the best interests of the Venezuelan population. That's at the top of their heart and mind. They don't even have the best intentions for the people that are here. I say this over and over because I keep being reminded of this. And I think this is like the most staggering thing that I learned from the government shutdown. We have 42 million people that are on government subsidized food assistance in this country. We're sending money to all over the place. And then we're invading a foreign country, Venezuela, over the oil. Because more than anything, of course, we have capitalist pursuits. And don't let a good regime change and foreign country invasion and some colonization get in the way of that. Like, we need this money and we're going to get it by any means. So, this is the U.S.'s game plan. We've done this over and over and over and over. And, like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's just keep doing it. Let's just keep doing it till we colonize the whole world.
We're not
That's
going
sarcasm.
to let that happen. We're there now. And what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we're
not going to start making money for Venezuela. We're going to start making money for the oil companies who are going to pay a little bit of a tax. And yeah, there's probably going to be some benefit to somebody over in Venezuela when they're able to install somebody there that is, pro-Trump, pro-the U.S. They're going to have somebody there that's willing to make a deal, and they're going to get a little bit of a kickback. But the entire point is to put our thumb on this country that is destabilized, this country that we took their president. We're not going over there to do the greater good for Venezuela. Are there people in Venezuela that don't necessarily like Nicolas Maduro and his regime? Absolutely. But if you think that Trump just has good intentions and that's why he's going to Venezuela to take out their president, I have a bridge to sell you. It's just not happening. The same reason, the same thing. We go over there and we bomb Nigeria, and we say, "Oh, it's because they're persecuting the Christians over there." Okay, but you're not letting any Nigerian Christian refugees come to the U.S. So what are your intentions really? If your intentions were good, then you would have made a deal with Nicolas Maduro. You would have said the same thing that you said over to Canada. Okay, I'm going to tariff you, or we're going to put sanctions on you, but we're going to make sure that you play ball the way that we want you to play ball, or you can't do business with us. If that was the intention, we would have taken that route. But the intention is to destabilize Venezuela, put somebody in there that's going to do business with the U.S., and it's going to be like mostly a one-sided deal. Of course, that is, that's the way that we do things over here. And of course, there's a lot of people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Bernie Sanders, who have issue with the way that Trump is doing business. So let's check out Marjorie Taylor Greene. So we know that Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's broken ranks with Trump. They're not necessarily, they're not on good terms. Over the Epstein files, we've talked about that ad nauseum. We don't need to talk about that here. Let's see her statement. She says, "I served on the Homeland Security Committee for the past 3 years. I'm 100% for strong, safe, secure borders and stopping narco-terrorists and cartels from trafficking deadly drugs and human trafficking into America. Fentanyl is responsible for over 70% of U.S. Drug overdose deaths, and fentanyl comes from Mexican cartels made with chemical precursors from China and trafficked across the U.S.-Mexico border. Mexico cartels are primarily and overwhelmingly responsible for killing Americans with deadly drugs." Obviously, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's breaking ranks with Trump, so people are going to say she has Trump derangement syndrome, or she doesn't fully understand the issue, or, she's aligning with the left, she's moving left. She said repeatedly that she is America first. And what that sentiment means is we want to focus on the issues, the domestic issues, the issues that people face here, including those 42 million Americans that are on SNAP. Not going over to Venezuela under the pretense like, oh, they have so many drugs that they're trafficking into the U.S. on these shipping boats. That's why we need to bomb them. That's why we need to go over there and kidnap their president in the dead of night, right? Obviously, that was never the issue. That was never the issue because, as Marjorie Taylor Greene pointed out, why are we not going after Mexico? Why are we not going after China? We're going after essentially, I'm not going to say that Venezuela is defenseless, but let's be honest. America more than likely will stomp the shit out of Venezuela if it comes to that. So they're going basically after a defenseless country, still in their president, trying to install somebody that they want that is favorable to the U.S. and just want to sell us the oil, or be preferable and let our companies come there, build the infrastructure, and reap all of the benefits while they get what? 10%, 20%. That's what's going to happen, obviously. It says the U.S. military action and regime change in Venezuela was really about saving American lives from deadly drugs. If it was about that, then why hasn't Trump taken action against Mexican cartels? So we know what Marjorie Taylor Greene's stance is. It says this is what many in MAGA thought they. Let me see. It says regime change, funded foreign wars, and American tax dollars being consistently funneled to foreign causes, foreigners both home and abroad, and foreign governments, while Americans are consistently facing increasing cost of living, housing, healthcare, and learn about scams and fraud of their tax dollars, is what has most Americans enraged, especially the younger generations. Boomers and half of Gen X will cheer on neocons, wars, and talking points, but the other half of Gen X, the majority on down, see through it or hate it. So basically she's saying this is what people were trying to vote out. This is what people were opposing when they voted for Trump. This is what he ran on. He said he was the peace president, no new wars. He was going to focus on making America great again. And everything that Trump came into politics ideologically opposing, he has become. And it probably, I didn't vote for Trump in any other times. I almost voted for him in 2024. which I told you guys I will tell that story another time. But everything that these people voted for, they've lived long enough to see their hero become a villain. People thought that Trump was really, for whatever reason, they thought that Trump was really going to look out for them. And it's been time after time after time after time where he's just spit in the face of not only his voters, but the American people in general. We don't need this. But like we say, the business interests, those people have to make the money. And in order to put us on the top, we're $40 trillion in debt. We're like, okay, well, we can easily go stomp the Venezuelan army, or we can do a regime change, get our people in there and get the money. This is what we voted against. We said focus on the stuff that is domestic, focus on our domestic issues. What you're doing in Venezuela is not America first, and it's not going to make America great. We are being laughed at and we're being ridiculed on the world stage for a number of things, but especially because of this. So we said that they were trying to do a regime change and they were looking to make a deal with the vice president. The vice president over there, from what I understand, she's not elected. She was hand selected. She's not elected in terms of like how our vice president is. She was hand selected by Maduro. So like that's literally his right hand woman. She said that she's not interested in doing any regime change, right? She said, hey, you need to return our president. So we have some reporting over from Axios. It says Venezuela's vice president throws cold water on Trump's solution for running the country. Essentially, Trump said, hey, we're going to occupy the country. We're going to get somebody in there that's going to be favorable to us. And then we'll see how things go in terms of us pulling our troops out, or however this occupation is supposed to go. It says Venezuela's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, condemned the U.S. attack and capture of President Nicolas Maduro on Saturday, saying in a televised address, the nation will never return to being the colony of another empire. That's really what Trump is looking for. He's looking to make Venezuela a U.S. territory, whether that means we permanently occupy them or we just keep our thumb on them. They want that power, they want that control, and they want that fucking oil because they want the money. Rodriguez's words are the first indicator the transition from Maduro's regime won't go as smoothly as President Trump hoped. Trump told reporters Saturday that he expects the U.S. to run Venezuela temporarily and that Rodriguez had been sworn in as president. Venezuela has not announced that Rodriguez has taken the oath of office. It is also unclear where Rodriguez currently is. Some media reports have placed her in Russia, others in Caracas. Obviously, she's being super careful about doing any public statements about giving away her location, because if you're not willing to play ball, we've already shown you that we will literally take you out of your country and fly you to our country in order to be indicted on charges, whether those charges are legitimate or illegitimate. The U.S. is saying, and Pam Bondi is saying, hey, you're going to be charged as a narco-terrorist. You're going to be charged as being complicit in all sorts of stuff, right? They got them conspiracy to commit narco-terrorism, whatever that ends up being, conspiracy to like run guns and drugs. It's insane. They're going to tie Nicolas Maduro up in a legal battle, and they're saying, and more than likely, they will do that to the vice president as well if she's not willing to play ball. So, you know, this is the situation we're in. In 2026, it's starting off with a bang. If that's what you were looking for, you certainly got it. Real quick, here's a PSA from J.D. Vance, the gentleman who said he was not aligned with Trump and then turned to be a complete MAGA loyalist because he is a snake and he's looking to make his way into the world, right? That is the game. We saw that in Game of Thrones. He's like Lord Baelish to me. He's like a slippery snake. And everybody knows that he's an interesting guy, but nobody, he's just able to maneuver and shapeshift into whatever he needs to be for the moment. Whether that be him not calling out people like Nick Fuentes by name, whether that's him being a Trump supporter and MAGA now. J.D. Vance is a shapeshifter in the figurative sense of the word, not like a lizard person type thing. It says in PSA, for everyone who's saying that this was illegal, Maduro had multiple indictments in the United States for narco-terrorism. I still don't know what that is. I don't know if that's defined somewhere. I had never heard this term until the Trump administration. You don't get to avoid justice for drug trafficking in the United States because you live in a palace in Caracas. I'm going to show you the quote that was accompanying this tweet because I think it's important. It says, this argument means that anytime a president who wants to invade a country illegally, he just has to get his DOJ to indict the country's leader. It makes Congress's powers to declare war totally meaningless. None of the stuff that Trump and Pete Hegseth are doing, they're not running any of it through Congress. Congress has been sitting on their hands. Mike Johnson he has Trump's hand up his ass and he's his little puppet. Trump could do whatever he wants to do, right? He has the House, he has the Senate. The Supreme Court is 6 out of 9 are leaning towards Trump. They're conservatives. Trump literally has, like what Stephen Miller said, what did he call it? A word with a P. I forgot what it's called. Plenary authority. Trump damn near can do whatever he wants. And he does, right? He does without impunity. There's nobody that can check Trump. The Supreme Court has already said anything that he does as the president is because he's the president, if he does it, it's legal. So he's not going to suffer any consequences of anything that he does. He can just call things narco-terrorism. They can just bomb boats. They can just steal other countries' presidents. And what's interesting, or what do they expect the fallout of this to be? Is the rest of the world just going to sit by and be like, oh, well, that's fine. We're going to give you a slap on the wrist. I saw something right before I went live where it said North Korea was shooting missiles or something at Japan. Like, when you start saying that I can do whatever the hell I want to do, other people are also going to do that, right? I don't know that like Russia or China or even North Korea is going to have a like direct retaliation, but other people are going to start looking at the stuff that you get away with and be like, okay, well, if all the chains are taken off and everybody's out of handcuffs, well, we'll just start, capturing territories that we want to do business with. Instead of making deals and having trade agreements, we'll just start taking them, right? There's a saying, big bank take little bank. So if we're big bank, even though we're $40 trillion in debt, we could just go take Venezuela. Fuck it, we'll do it. Now we have 17% of the world's entire oil reserves. I think it's a slippery slope. Give me a second. I need to wipe my nose. I think it's a slippery slope, but obviously Trump, his cronies, the people that he installed that are loyalists to him, they don't care. They want to do whatever it is that they do up front, and then they'll come back later and say, oh, well, we'll make it legal, right? So that's what they're doing, right? I don't know how you could just airlift a guy out of his country and be like, okay, well, we'll just go about the rest of 2026 like nothing happened. I don't think that that's going to be the case. We still have to see the rest of the fallout. Right now, it's just words from all of these different people, from the UN, from Iran, from Cuba, from Colombia. It's just words. But what if it turns into more than just words? Did we end up in a worse situation, right? Trump always thinks, oh, well, I'll just do what I want up front, the tariffs, and then I can scale back as I need to. I don't know if he's gotten away with this for the past 80 years, but like the world just doesn't work like that. You can't just do what you want to anybody and it's going to be okay. Sometimes you get away with it, right? But sometimes you don't. So we'll see what the fallout is. I want to play this thing from Bernie Sanders. It says, Trump campaigned on America First platform. Now he wants to run Venezuela. 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Healthcare is collapsing. Housing is unaffordable. Trump should address these major crises at home and end his illegal military adventurism abroad. Obviously, Bernie Sanders, I don't agree with everything he said, but since I've been introduced to him back in 2016, 2015, Bernie Sanders always knows the right thing to say in terms of like focusing on the issues. He may not have the right solutions, but in terms of where our focus should be, Bernie Sanders is usually spot on. Let's see his statement. I haven't watched it, so we'll be watching it for the first time together.
Thanks very much for joining me. Donald Trump has once again shown his contempt for the Constitution and the rule of law. Let's be clear. The President of the United
Okay, real quick. So what do y'all want to do about it? Because Bernie Sanders is in Congress, right? What are y'all going to do about it? Now that you're saying he's showing contempt for the Constitution and rule of law, but what is going to happen now? Are you just going to make a statement on X and then we're going to go about our day on Monday? Or is there going to be some sort of like backlash? Is there going to be some sort of like legal justification for somebody to be held responsible and accountable? Because, you know, in a time like this, we do need a statement from a level-headed leader. Bernie Sanders is that, right? He's not the only one, but he's the person I pulled up in this instance. What are you going to do about it in order to hold the administration in general, not specifically President Trump, right? We said that he's immune basically from any consequences for the things that he does and the decisions that he makes. But who's going to be held responsible and accountable for what we've been doing in terms of bombing the Venezuelan drug boats and then kidnapping their president, right? Without declaring war or without getting approval from Congress.
United States does not have the right to unilaterally take this country into war, even against a corrupt and brutal dictator like Maduro. The United States does not have the right, as Trump stated this morning, to run Venezuela. Congress must immediately pass a war powers resolution to end this illegal military operation and reassert its constitutional responsibilities. Trump's attack on Venezuela will not make the United States and the world safer. Quite the contrary. This brazen violation of international law gives a green light to any country on earth that may wish to attack another nation to seize their resources or change their governments. This is the horrific logic of force that Putin used to justify his brutal attack on Ukraine.
As I understand it, Ukraine has a lot of vital minerals. So, you know, I don't specifically know if that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, but I know that Trump was trying to make a mineral deal with Ukraine at one point. And I think that's been a point of contention there. So like Bernie Sanders is saying, right? I said that he is a level-headed leader and he's saying it verbatim. Like you can't just go and take stuff because you want what another country has. This is why we had trade deals. This is why we have partnerships. If I see that my neighbor has some lights in the backyard, I can't just be like, oh, well, I like your lights and you're not trying to share them with me or you're not trying to give them with me. I'll just take them. That is not how we conduct ourselves in polite society. And we have a global society, right? It's not just what we do domestically. We have a global society where we're polite to our neighbors. And Venezuela is a neighbor. They're not that far from the U.S. They're in the Western Hemisphere. It's not China, who we historically have had issues with, but we can't do that to China either, right? But we would want to have good relations with the people that we are next to, that we share, at least the hemisphere with. Shit, I don't know. But we can't continue on like this. Trump started his presidency trying to tell Canada that, oh, we're going to make you the 51st state. They were saying they weren't going for it. Now he's doing the stuff that he said, oh, we're going to run Gaza as well. I think that they're supposed to install some people over in Gaza in order to I don't know the full details. Let me not go down this rabbit hole. I got to do some more reading on it. But this thing with Venezuela, they're trying to take Canada, make it the 51st state. They said no. They're like, okay, well, what about Venezuela? They have oil. We want the oil. We'll just take that. And we'll see if it ends up being successful, right? We said the vice president doesn't want to do any sort of communication or any deal with the U.S. They want their president back. But, Trump has already set this thing into motion. So we'll see how it goes. I think that's where I'm going to go ahead and end it. I'll wait. I don't know if anybody is in the chat. All right, so you guys let me know what you think, man. This entire situation is absolutely insane. I think it's insane. I think that the U.S. is making a mistake. Regardless of Nicolas Maduro is a dictator, if he's brutal, whatever adjectives people have to describe him in a negative light, it's just not our business, right? The people of Venezuela, if they want something different, they have to figure that out. We don't have the resources. We're already spread thin enough. We're $40 trillion in debt. We don't have the latitude to go and start helping other countries and telling them, oh, well, we'll just put somebody that's more friendly to the U.S. and then you could have a thriving economy. We don't have the solution. We don't have a thriving economy ourselves. We keep talking about GDP and all of this stuff, and none of that negates the fact that we're $40 trillion in debt. None of that negates the fact that there are 42 million people on subsidized government food assistance. None of that negates the fact that China keeps building, not cities, but like train stations, and they have phenomenal infrastructure, and BYD just became the most sold electric car. We can't figure our stuff out here in order to keep us competitive and dominant. So why are we going to Venezuela, spreading ourselves even thinner, saying that, oh, we'll take over your country up to the point of occupying it, and we'll just bring in our very powerful oil companies. We'll stabilize it, make sure that they're safe, start stealing your oil, and then whoever's here get a little kickback. This is a non-answer to our problem. But this is who we have for the next 3 years. So if you voted for Trump and you like what he's doing, then congratulations. You got everything that you wanted. If you voted for Trump because you have issues or you recognize issues domestically, then, you know, I'm not going to say you fucked around and found out, but we certainly have who we have until we no longer have him. That has been the conversation for today. Let me know what you think. If you have some advice for me in terms of the stream or what I could do better, let me know. And if you recognize that I'm rocking a baldy today, it's because I shaved my head, indicated by the light that you can see up here. Usually I have on one of these hats. If you are interested in getting one, if you are interested in supporting the channel in that way, and you just like hats, you want to cover your bald head, or, you know, you like the design and you want to rock it, some of the channel merch, there will be a link in the description, and there is a product tab on the page, so you can grab you one, and I would greatly appreciate it. But this is the first stream of the new year. Welcome to 2026. We'll see how it goes. Until next time, peace.